Over the last 8 years, practicing as a child and adolescent psychiatrist and the last 17 years as a dad of 7 myself, I found that many of the most popular parenting rules you hear all the time don't actually work. In fact, they can make parenting harder, not easier. The first one is the idea that you need the perfect parenting plan. This one sounds harmless. Have a plan, right? How bad can it be? But here's the trap. We think we need the perfect plan before we can start, and so we don't start. I've seen parents wait months to set up a family routine because they were researching the best discipline method or put off a hard conversation because they weren't sure how it would land. When I started making parenting videos, I thought I needed to understand the YouTube algorithm before posting anything. And what I had instead was frustration and a longing to finally connect. So one day I just started, one video at a time. The ancient prophet Isaiah writes in 30:21, "Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.'" Actually, I think parenting is a lot like that. You actually learn the way by walking in it. In The Lean Startup, a book about the chaos of building something that's never been seen before, like a unique family, Eric Ries calls this validated learning. You move forward, you test something, and then you adjust. Families grow the same way. Here's what I want you to consider doing instead of waiting for the perfect plan. Pick one next step this week. One shared meal, one bedtime story, one non-screen hour. You're going to defend that with everything you've got. Don't wait for a perfect system. They actually don't exist. You've got to begin. Standing still in parenting is like stepping on a Lego, painful and not where you want to be, so keep moving. Quick thing, if you've ever wondered why your kids open up some days and shut down on others, I've made something for you. It's my free Connecting with Your Kids guide that has 10 simple connection moments you can start today. Click the link below and grab it. It's totally free. The second rule to smash is that if you do everything absolutely right, your kids will turn out exactly as planned. Now, parenting isn't an equation. If I do X, I'll get Y necessarily. Kids aren't code you can debug. I'm sure some of you are watching me right now saying, okay, that's obvious. I totally get that. But if you're honest, that's not actually how you respond to your child doing something wild. We all say, why would he put the crayon in his oatmeal? You can make every right choice and still have a child who struggles with anxiety, ADHD, friendship drama, or even faith questions. And that's not a failure. That's being human. In medicine, there's a syllabus, exams, a path. Parenting, no syllabus, no guaranteed ROI, right? I've worked with families that did everything by the book, right? Healthy meals, the bedtime routines, no added sugars, all the enrichment activities. And their teens still spiraled into a depressive episode. But what made the difference, especially in their recovery, wasn't a checklist of things. It was their willingness to sit on the floor, listen, and stay present. Dr. Dan Siegel's work on attachment shows secure connection comes not from perfection, but from good enough parenting, where rupture and repair build trust together. So here's what I want you to do in terms of reframing your thinking. Ask, am I moving in the right direction? Instead of, am I doing this perfectly? In doing that and taking on a mantra like that, you start to see parenting as a relationship to grow and not just a test to ace. So if you're waiting for a perfect input to guarantee a perfect output, you'll be waiting forever. The third rule to consider smashing is big changes are what make the difference in our families. Here's what we parents often get backwards. Most people think transformation comes from big, dramatic changes, but big changes are harder to sustain and often fade really quickly. Families in crisis often try to do this. They try to overhaul everything, the diet, the screen time, the discipline. 2 weeks later, old patterns seem to reemerge. But the families who pick one small habit and stick to it, that's where the real change happens. James Clear in Atomic Habits says, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." Small, consistent actions compound into massive results. So rather than changing every ounce of routine or doing something like trading out your spouse or your second child, here's actually what I want you to try. Start with one small thing, right? Dinner without phones, a weekly walk, or a 10-minute of bedtime connection routine. You're going to start to build a system around it until it becomes automatic in the life of your family. Then you move on to the next thing. Remember, small wins beat big plans every single time. Rule number 4, if you work hard enough, you'll always get the results you want. Guys, that recipe fuels burnout, even as a parent. You tie your energy to outcomes you can't fully control. Perfect grades, perfect behavior, and you'll end up exhausted. I've had seasons where my YouTube views lacked or maybe really even tanked, and I questioned everything. But when I asked why I was doing it, the answer was never views or revenue. It was the dad who connected with his son, the mom who found joy again in her parenting approach. Psychologist Edward Deci's research on intrinsic motivation shows that autonomy, mastery, and purpose drive lasting engagement. To this list, I'd also add faith, the sense that you're a part of something bigger, part of a bigger plan. You've been called from the Shire, as it will, to embark on a grand adventure. That is the ultimate fuel. So here's what I want you to try instead. Anchor your motivation in connection, not control. When I'm tempted to correct my kids with some long nagging story, it can help if I remember to ask a question like, was that the most loving thing you could have offered your sister? Or what do those words do to a heart that loves you? Let purpose and faith guide your decisions, not the metrics. Hard work without purpose is like running a treadmill. You get tired, but go nowhere. All right, here's rule number 5. Parenting is supposed to be exhausted, and joy is a luxury. This feels like common wisdom, but here is where it goes wrong. Some seasons are survival mode, if we're being honest, but joy really isn't a luxury. It's also the fuel to run this thing. Without it, you burn out. I used to treat fun like dessert sometimes in my parenting. You get it when the real work is done. Kitchen dance parties, silly voices at bedtime, impromptu basketball in the driveway, these are not distractions. They're the glue. Dr. Greg Popchak says, your child's desire to play with you is not trivial. It's a sincere investment into their heart. So here's what I want you to try instead. I want you to ask, what would this look like if it were fun? If you find yourself trapped in this cycle of, just doing things or going through the motions or not finding the joy. Also, I want you to try to schedule joy into the routine and not just wait for the weekends for that to happen. Remember, fun is the real work. Rule number 6, what gets measured is what matters most. So this is where things like business and weight loss diverge a bit from family life. Grades, likes, screen time hours, these are easy to measure, but they aren't the most important things. My proudest moments with families aren't award ceremonies. They're when a teen opens up after weeks of distance, or a child chooses to stay in the room instead of storming off. So whether it's my 4-year-old's drawing or a silly meme my 15-year-old wants to share with me, the fact that they are offering things up for my attention is a source of immense connection. The Gottman Institute calls these emotional bids, small moments that build trust over time. So here's the reframe of things to consider doing to make this actionable. I want you to celebrate unmeasurable wins. That means things like trust or presence or just shared joy together. And don't let the metrics dictate your priorities. What matters most can't be counted. And rule number 7 to break, your daily parenting efforts only matter if you see immediate results. Many of you are thinking, that's not me, but in truth, that's how we often live. Parents will tell me, we tried to have dinner when they had a bad go at dinner one time, and they've since abandoned that. We live in an instant results culture, but parenting is seed planting. You rarely see the fruit right away. 7 years ago, I couldn't have predicted the community that would grow from these videos. The same is true in parenting. Your work compounds quietly, invisibly, and then all at once. Jeff Bezos once said, your upside isn't capped. The right swing could earn you 1,000,000 points. And in parenting, the impact is infinite. So here's the reframe. Keep showing up even when it feels small. Trust the compounding effect of consistency. I have to remind myself, so I'm reminding you, you're planting seeds today that your kids will harvest years from now. Now listen, if all you ever do was love your kids well, apologize when you mess up, and model growth, you'd be doing it right. Break the rules that hold you back, build the relationship that lasts. If your goal is to avoid the common blind spots in connecting with our kids and finally getting them to share what's really on their heart with you, you'll want to check out this next video. I'll see you there.